Great, great, great. Good morning, good morning, good morning, and congratulations to you guys for making it here on what it sounds like has been a full few days. And then with this being the last day and so early in the morning, I'm impressed at the amount of people that are here in the audience to spend some time with us this morning and also check out things. I will actually start by saying something that I told a group of my friends yesterday after going for a jog in the park, is that I feel like I'm at home right now. And I say I feel like I'm at home for a couple of different reasons. The first reason is because I'm in India. So that sounds kind of strange. I see some of you guys going a little sideways on me because, as you noticed, my name is Ime Archibong. You see me up here. I'm clearly not of Indian descent. I'm of Nigerian descent. But as I was thinking about it yesterday when I was running in the park, this is my 6th or 7th trip to India this year alone, which in aggregate makes it more than this is true, makes it more than the amount of trips that I've actually been to Nigeria in my entire lifetime, much to the chagrin of my parents. So India feels like my second home these days, and it's fantastic. I'm always excited to come back here and spend some time with folks. The second piece of it is just the audience that I'm with right now. So I, at my core, although I've been running a partnerships team for Facebook for the last 5 years, was a CS major, has always been a builder, love startups, love entrepreneurs, and I'm a developer at my core. In fact, as mentioned, I started off my career as a software engineer, and some of the first pieces of software that I developed were performance-enhancing software for storage systems back at IBM. Now, while that was academically interesting for me and intellectually stimulating for me, it actually never tapped into my core passions, which include service and also helping people ultimately. So you can imagine that when I found my way over to Facebook a couple years ago, right, a company whose mission, as you read it there, is to give people the power to connect and making the world more open and connect, or giving people the power to share and making the world more open and connected, I immediately felt like I was at home there too. All right, my passions directly aligned with this mission. I was immediately surrounded by super smart, curious, academically hungry, and curiously just interesting people that also had the same mission alignment that I had and were passionate about connecting the world and ultimately helping people. One of the things that I actually feared when I started there was that we were going to put our heads down, we were going to all sit in the same room, get very, very aggressive about trying to solve this mission together. But I think the beautiful thing that I noticed when I got there is that Facebook has a culture, and there's this humility that exists all the way from Mark, all the way down to kind of the lowliest engineer, that is humble. We are partnership focused. We know that if we're going to go after something so big and crazy as this mission, can you guys hear me okay when the mic falls a little bit? Okay, perfect. If we're going to go after something as crazy as this big mission right here, there's no way that we could do it alone. And in fact, I've seen time and time again, Facebook's approach to doing business, to building, has always been through partnerships, has been through building platforms. So you can see developers, startups, like-minded people from around the world hop onto the mission and the objectives that we have laid out ahead of us, which has been fantastic. Developers have always been a part of this experience, like I just mentioned, right? You go after something crazy, crazy, like giving everybody across the world the power to share and making the world open and connected. What you end up seeing and knowing is that you're not going to solve all the different ways that people in India want to share and capture the world. You're not going to solve all the ways that people in Nigeria or in California or in Chicago or New York are going to want to capture and share. So you have to do it through partnerships. And we've seen over time and time again some of these great partners emerge. Folks that realized that when the mobile devices came around and started becoming prolific, people wanted to quickly and easily capture the world in a photograph or a video and share it with their friends in a beautiful way. Are also people that were just so hyper-focused on communication, point-to-point communication. They wanted to build the simplest application to make sure that you could talk to your loved ones or a small group of friends. Over the course of these years, I just talked about Instagram on one hand and WhatsApp on the other hand. We're so mission aligned with what Facebook was doing that they decided to join kind of the Facebook Inc. family, which you see kind of back here. This isn't all of our product suite by any stretch of the imagination, but it gives you a sense of folks, products, things that we've been building over the course of the last couple of years and the global impact that they have. Facebook, 1.5 billion people every single month touching that platform. WhatsApp now at this point, 900 million people every single month leveraging WhatsApp. Instagram, 400 million. Our Facebook Messenger product, 700 million, continues to grow. One that's not talked about too much is our Groups product. 850 million people every single month around the planet are using our Facebook Groups product. So these numbers are staggering. They're really exciting. They're at a global level, but you got to imagine that a lot of the work and the activity that's happening on these platforms right now are outside of kind of the United States, where I'm based out of, and North America. But that's what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to talk about India, so I thought it might be helpful to give you guys a little snapshot of what's happening and how we're serving the folks here in India directly. I won't go into the details of this stat because everyone can read it themselves, but I think the high-level takeaway here is if you look to your left or you look to your right, about 1 every 2 people in this room is leveraging Facebook right now in India. Almost half of every single person who's online in India is using Facebook. I bet that number jumps up when I talk about my other platforms too. So as a quick show of hands, who here is also on Instagram? Okay, good, healthy. And I bet this number goes up when I ask this question. Who here is also on WhatsApp? All right, so you look around and you see the staggering results there. So I would say that from a Facebook Inc. perspective, we're actually doing a really, really solid job of serving India, giving people the power to share, making the world more open and connected. And I say solid, so I caveat that. I don't give us an outstanding or pat myself on the back, because I think one of the things that we all know, and that you guys are very familiar with, is this exists, right? 18% of the people that live in India today are online. So it's you, me, the folks in this room, and almost 200 plus million other people that have access to the internet. But there's still a big swath of people that aren't yet connected. And this is where, me as someone who is aligned with this mission of trying to give the world the powers and this to connect and share, get a little irritated and you get frustrated because you see stats like this. Because this is not just India. This is not specific to India. This is pervasive around the world. I spent the most of the last 16 to 18 months traveling around the world, diving into connectivity issues from country to country. And once you get out of North America and Western Europe, where about 70% of the offline population have access to the internet or are online, and you start diving into the southern hemisphere, across LATAM, Africa, Asia, that number on average drops down to about 40%, which is staggering, in my opinion. For some people, it may not be shocking right off the bat, but then you layer on top of that 90% of the world, over 90% of the world's global offline population lives in those areas that we're talking about that have less than 40% connectivity rate. And that's where you see the big delta and the big gap. And any person who is passionate about building for the next few billion people, which is the title of this session, that's passionate about bringing experiences and products to folks via mobile devices and other platforms, you see that delta, you see that gap, and you get passionate about how to figure out how to close that gap. So specifically in India, what does this mean? Right? Over 1 billion people on the world, are in the country right now, aren't yet connected. I see that both as a problem, but then also as an opportunity, right? And an opportunity that anyone who is mission aligned, who believes in the future of connectivity and what that does to transform economies, that was to transform people's lives and individuals' livelihood, also see it as an opportunity to make some headway and really dig in here. This number jumps up clearly as you go around the world. I just said it, about 2/3 of the people on the world right now are billion people across the planet, which is staggering. So whether you are in here and you're excited about building games for the next few billion people, or you're building an e-commerce platform and trying to sell e-commerce products to the next few billion people that will be online, or the billion people that are online already. Whether you're a company like ours, we're trying to build connectivity tools for the next few billion people that are going to be online. You have to see this, and you have to recognize this problem and know that you have to do something about it in order to satisfy whatever mission you have set out in front of yourselves. So I wanted to jump and talk a little bit about what Facebook is thinking about right now. When we think about connectivity and we think about how we're going to build and provide solutions for the next few billion people. There's 3 big bets that we're making as a company that we're pretty excited about. And I think that from our perspective, if we're able to satisfy or tackle some of these problems and some of these areas and opportunities, that we can fundamentally transform the way that people perceive life as it is today, which is really exciting, and we think open up and unlocks a bunch of opportunities to give people new ways to share and connect with each other. I'll power through them really quickly, but you can see internet.org, which is all about connecting the unconnected, AI, artificial intelligence, and the research that we're doing around there, and then last but not least, kind of the virtual reality and the augmented reality work that we're doing. So let's dive into each one really quickly. I just talked about this problem, talked about the opportunity that we have at hand, and one of the things that I continue to be excited about Facebook for doing and stepping forward is saying to try to tackle this problem itself. Could have very easily sat back and let this world take care of itself and figure out how to drive connectivity across the planet, but The overall mission of internet.org is truly to try to figure out how to accelerate and bring the internet to access to the 2/3 of the people across the planet that don't yet have access to the internet. Now, this plays out for us in a couple different programs, which you may or may not be familiar with, but I thought it might be good to walk through some of those right now. There's Free Basics, our Connectivity Labs efforts, and also Express Wi-Fi. To go in a little bit deeper on some of these, Free Basics is ultimately just a platform, right? It's a collective of folks like you, like me, entrepreneurs around the world that are also like-minded and excited about trying to figure out how to build for the historically unconnected. There's about 300 almost now at this point around the world that have gone together to say, hey, this is an important population for us. We want to make sure that they have access to products and tools that we've had benefit to for a long, long time. The way that this manifests itself today is in an application or a website that if you are an end user in any of the 22 countries that we've currently rolled out in, you have free access to these Free Basics services. It's really exciting to see, and like I say, I spent a lot of time over the course of the last 16 months to 18 months to see how this application, this experience is improving people's lives and giving them access to simple tools like health information, educational and function learning tools, and so on down the line. Really excited about what we're doing here. As you can see, the rollout that we have so far across 22 countries gives this application the potential reach of 1 billion people who have historically have not been connected. So we're excited about the work that's happening there. The second piece is the Connectivity Labs. And once again, I don't know how familiar you guys were starting to talk about this a little bit more these days, which is pretty exciting because this is the James Bond exciting stuff that people love to wrap their heads around and get a little bit of insights into. But ultimately, the goal here is to try to figure out how to solve some of the infrastructure barriers that have historically kept people offline, all right? It's running fiber into the most remote villages or corners of the planet often isn't the most cost-effective thing to do. So we're trying to find some technical solutions that we can offer to folks that are laying infrastructure and thinking about infrastructure and how to reach kind of that 10% or that 5% of people that truly are in areas of the world where there isn't yet infrastructure. We recently talked about a satellite partnership that we are doing to bring connectivity to some of the areas in sub-Saharan Africa. We've been very vocal about Aquila, which I think some of you guys may be familiar with, which is our unmanned solar-powered aircraft that was built in 14 months by this amazing team out of the UK and has been able to, will eventually, when it gets up into the air, fly between 60 to 90,000 feet in the air. That in conjunction with some of the amazing work that's happening in California from our laser team, will build an interesting, like a networking infrastructure that will live in the stratosphere and be able to beam down internet to some of the remote corners of the planet. This laser team is pretty phenomenal. Just a tidbit on them. They've, inside the lab, been able to push data at tens of gigabits per second, which is about 10x faster than any of the state-of-the-art lasers that exist today. In addition to be able to push data at that type of volume, this laser can hit what is essentially, I don't have a rupee in my pocket right now, but I'm sure maybe someone in this room does, but be able to hit the size of a rupee from 10 miles away, about 15 kilometers away. So really exciting to see the work that they're doing. Like I say, in conjunction with Aquila, these lasers beaming internet up to the Aquila, then beaming it down to the rest of to kind of the remote areas of the world. We're really excited about the connectivity that we're able to bring to some of these remote areas that haven't yet had access before. The last program is Express Wi-Fi. Once again, something that we're now just talking about, and hopefully folks will become more and more familiar with. This is ultimately trying to create a program similar to anyone who's familiar with how the cable networks rolled out here in India and saw success, but essentially to provide local ISPs and entrepreneurs access to very affordable hardware solutions for them to provide internet access to their community, to their small region, their area, that will then turn profit for them and be sustainable. The way Facebook's playing a role in this right now is providing some of the technical solutions, but then also some of the financial support to get these entrepreneurs and local ISPs off the ground. But really excited about the promise that this will bring to places like India and enabling, empowering an ecosystem of entrepreneurs truly to help bring internet themselves to their community and to the rest of the planet. So that's the first big area. The second area, how we think about the future connectivity, is probably the most nascent of the three, but nonetheless, artificial intelligence is something that continues to get us really, really excited about the way that it will transform fundamentally the way that people interact with digital products in the future. As the chart suggests, it is still very much in the research phase, but the long-term goal here is ultimately two things. One, which is to truly understand how intelligence happens. all right? And that's both artificial intelligence, but also natural intelligence. So to wrap our hands around that and get a good, firm understanding of that. Two is to make sure that we can enable machines to recognize content and human beings in ways that makes them more and more intelligent as life goes on. So we're really excited, once again, about the work that we're doing here. As mentioned, probably the most nascent of the 3 different big bets that we're making. This last piece, I don't know how many of you are familiar with Oculus, which joined the Facebook family about a year or maybe a year and a half ago now at this point. But the work that they've been doing in virtual reality continues to be excited. Anyone who is a sci-fi geek or a nerd and has been talking about virtual reality for the last 10 or 15 years in the abstract knows that the time has finally come, and we're kind of right on the forefront of what's happening. And this stuff is awesome. Has anyone used the gear or the headset? I see a couple hands going up. So when you get a chance to dive into it, it's extremely immersive, it's exciting, it's an experience that once you put them on, you won't want to take them off, and you'll ask people to keep you in the experience. I recently had my best Oculus VR experience probably less than a month ago, and this is not one of the sexy, awesome games that people are building right now and developers are building around the world for VR. But instead it was at the UN Summit just I think it was about 4 weeks ago in New York, where I was able to step into the shoes of an Ebola survivor from Guinea. And within moments, I felt more connected, more empathy, more understanding, more comprehension around her experience and the experience that she was living and the experience in her community as an Ebola survivor. And this was in ways that, even in the height of the Ebola crisis, I was never able to feel through news reports, through articles, or even mouth-to-mouth conversation. So I was already convinced that VR was going to be an amazing platform, amazing social platform to let people share their stories and for people to connect with each other. But after this experience, I've kind of taken it to another level and really truly believe this can be the future platform of computing in the way we give people the opportunity to connect with each other. So those are the 3 big bets that we're thinking about as a company right now from Facebook Inc. about the future of connectivity and how we're building for the next couple billion people. So I guess your question is probably, why did I walk you guys through that? It goes back to one of the first things I said, is that for us to hit our mission and for us to build for the next few billion people and bring connectivity, everyone in this room is always part of that journey, right? It's always been about developers, it's always been about partners, it's always been about startups that we can work with in order to see this journey through. In India specifically too, it's happening already. You guys have been a part of our journey. I thought it'd be worthwhile to walk through and at least highlight some of the ways that you have been thus far. Skipped ahead too, Vic. This stat is great. And I think that this will change soon, given the trajectory that this country is on right now, and if we get the connectivity solved, right? But outside of the US, India right now has the #1 amount of developers that are building for Facebook right now. It's an exciting trend. It's the reason why we continue to invest in the region. If you look across mobile devices right now, which is where a lot of our mind share is going, 75% of the top 100 grossing apps across the Android platform and also the iOS platform are already leveraging Facebook SDKs and plugins. So you guys are part of this journey with us already in a very organic way. We see these stats and we figure out how can we invest back into this ecosystem. And one of the things that I think some of folks may be familiar with, maybe some folks aren't familiar with, is our FB Start program. But through FB Start, we've actually been able, over the course of the last 16 to 18 months, provide over $21 million worth of value and free benefits and tools and services to startups in India alone, which is the most that we've done in Asia. Incredible. So if you're asking yourself, how do you get started? How do you get involved with all the stuff that I just chatted and talked about? I wanted to at least give you guys some pointers and things that you can go to. So FB Start, if you're interested, once again, FB Start was created 2 years ago or so now in an attempt to pull together a community of like-minded, high-potential entrepreneurs and startups that were trying to have an impact on the world. Go to fbstart.com and you can see how you can take advantage of the free benefits packages that we've been pulled together for folks, the mentorship, the community aspects. If Oculus and VR, and you believe in that as being the kind of the next computing platform and what it can do, if you are building games, if you are building content, if you are building experiences, definitely check out developer.oculus.com to check out their mobile SDKs and then also their hardware-centric SDKs to start building for them. Internet.org, and if you are passionate about trying to build for the historically unconnected and that billion people right now that aren't yet connected in India, please go take a look at the platform, see how things are going. I'll pause there. I want to double down on that and actually point to this last link right now, which is essentially a call to action for for entrepreneurs and developers who are excited about internet.org and building for the historically unconnected to actually show their support. You know, like I said, I've been to dozens and dozens of countries over the course of the last 2 years talking about internet.org and talking about free basics, and have been, you know, pleasantly surprised, whether it's been governments, whether it's been developers, whether it's been the end users and people that are benefiting from it, of how they're totally embracing this and it's actually working. Here in India, I think we'd all nod our heads if I said there's been a very lively debate around it, which has been good to see, which always makes me smile because it means that we're doing something meaningful. But it's funny that when I get people one-on-one, all the time I spend here, I hear the cheers for support. So I'd say if you're that person that hasn't made a vocal support yet, check out this link, and you can bring out your mobile phone right now and actually do it right now and show your support for the program and for the initiative. Pause there for a second and switch gears as I close, because I want to talk about how we are also reinvesting back into the ecosystem. But the last time I was able to chat with developers, before I left, one of the things that they enjoyed was me just taking a second to talk a little bit about Facebook culture and some of the posters that you see here on the wall. So this is a picture of one of the walls in our Menlo Park, California headquarters that captures a lot of the mantras and sayings that people walk into the office every day and keeps them motivated and keeps them going. I want to share two, one that actually is very Facebook-centric, one that's more personal, but you won't find it on the wall here today, like what will you do if you weren't afraid, or people over pixels, or anything along those lines. The first is the saying that we have at Facebook, which is, nothing is somebody else's problem, right? It's the idea and the simple concept that if you're smart enough, if you're in the office, if you're in the room, if you're looking at somebody's code and you see that something's wrong, fix it. Fix it. We're all in this together. We're all trying to make something happen together. Fix it. There's no passing the buck. There's no saying that this is not our problem or this is not my problem, I don't have to deal with this today. Step up, fix it, roll up your sleeves, and get your hands dirty. I'd actually say the same call of action for folks in this room. As I think about all the different things that Facebook has done, that they could have very easily taken a step back and said, that's not our problem, that's somebody else's problem, whether it's K through 12 education around the world, whether it's providing relief for some of the earthquakes and tragedies that have happened around the world. To be honest with you, whether it's trying to connect it. I've always been proud that we've stepped to the plate and said, hey, no, we are a company that is action-oriented, we have hands, we're smart, we're excited, and we're passionate. Let's hop in and try to figure out how we can fix it. So I'd encourage everyone in the room to think about the same problems that you see your neighbors having, you see your community having, and hop in to fix it. That's one. The second one is more personal. You won't see it at any wall at any Facebook headquarters or any Facebook office around the world. Where you will see it is you will see it on the bathroom wall of the home that I grew up in Greensboro, North Carolina, because it hung over my head when I was 5 years old to probably 18-year-olds when I left for college. But it's this idea and this concept of only a life lived for others is a life worthwhile. So many of you may be familiar with this Albert Einstein quote. And it's something that I hold near and dear to my heart once again, which is a life of service is the right life, right? I've been so proud to be a part of the Facebook family and all the other product teams family that are anchored in trying to figure out how day to day they can serve people. So I just wanted to encourage everyone that, once again, whether you're building a game, whether you're building an e-commerce platform, whether you're building a job site for somebody, whether you're building power to give people, things to give people the power to connect and give people the power to share, try to figure out a way to anchor what you're doing on a day-to-day basis in service for other people. I think what you'll find is that not only you, but then also your colleagues, your employees, and the people that are supporting you will be more mission-driven, will be excited about supporting you guys, will be excited about your success, and you'll see that come to fruition a lot easier than if you didn't have that type of underpinning. I'm going to pause there and say thank you.